next 18 months to be able to carry out what we need to do. So on the Seneca housing project, that's the 7-unit in total scattered site, one lot in the village of Ovid and the other lot in the hamlet of Willard. We are working with Seneca Housing and HCR and the county attorney and everyone involved to push towards a closing hopefully on March 15th. So that means we'll have the property transfers worked out by that time. We'll have our contract for the LBI money with Seneca Housing worked out by that time. We've gone through an extensive environmental review with HCR, much of which you'll hear about in a moment. That has been finalized and that was needed to get to that closing. So on March 15th, or therearound, we expect to have that construction closing. And we need to start work and get trees cleared for the Indiana back by the end of March, because apparently they don't lose some trees during the winter. So we cut the trees down between November 1st and March 31st. You don't disturb the habitat. So we're kind of on a time crunch, because if we miss that window, we've got problems. So that's why getting through much of the Seneca Housing LBI resolutions today just keeps us on track. And I'm not expecting at this point very much to throw us off. We still need to finalize the contract with the county attorney for the ARPA money from the county. And Esther's working on that, and that'll hopefully pan out here in the next week or so. And beyond that, it's all to our court to make sure we are moving everything. And the resolutions here should set us up to do that. Because we're a public authority and we're distributing money for a project, and because there is no zoning included, we're needing to do seeker on the distribution of that money, which we're piggybacking mostly on top of what HCR is doing in their seeker process. So there is a resolution kind of tucked in the middle of the list here for the seeker process. Prior to that resolution, similar to the planning board, you folks that are served on like a local planning board, not counties, you go through those questions for the part 2 of the seeker. We're going to need to do that. So that shouldn't take too long. And we'll discuss a few things that came to light during the HCR environmental review and how they were mitigated. And then from there, we're hoping to just continue on with the resolutions. So with all that, I think we're actually in pretty good shape. And at this point, all things going our way, we should be able to start cutting down trees prior to March 31st. So.
What was their date to start with?
What do you mean?
You said you can't cut between such a date
Oh, November 1st.
to March 1st?
March 31st.
You're allowed.
You're allowed.
You're allowed.
You're allowed in the winter months.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
So I'll explain a little bit more about that when we get to the seeker thing. The FLACRA projects in the village of Waterloo, these ones are way easier. So FLACRA, they have development experience. They've done projects like this before, and they don't need our help to get it over the finish line as much. But we do need 2 resolutions to get them to their construction closing, which we're not a super active participant in. One is authorizing the property transfers of 17 South Walnut and 55 Washington. And then the second is authorizing the commitment of that Wells Fargo donation that we received when we acquired 55 Washington. When was that, 2024, 5? That we've been sitting on. It was intended to help take care of that property after the fact. we had land bank initiative money to do the things that we needed to do, and we needed to spend that money. So we've kind of been sitting on that 60,000 cents, and we use that as kind of a local match to make the application more competitive with Blackrock, which was awarded. So now we have to give it to them. So that's what that resolution is. And then the last thing is bringing on a consultant to help run the operations of the land bank. We've been discussing for some time bringing on a employee, and over the last couple of weeks, it came to our attention that Tracy Barrier from MRB was going to be going off on her own to do her planning and community development work as like an independent consultant. And with her experience with, at this point, almost all things Seneca County, and she worked on we wrote our operations plan, and she's had plans for numerous land banks around the state with MRB. I was able to reach out to her, and she's very interested in helping us out. She submitted a proposal and a contract for that work that essentially summarizes the entire job description we're hoping to hire independently this year. So with her, there really was not a better opportunity to get a quality person that we trust, that we know can kind of hit the ground running and take care of this quickly. With the opportunity of working with her, we decided to kind of shift directions and go for the consultant hat because it gets us Tracy Barrier instead of we don't know who's 6 months down the road. And with the amount that's happening in the planning department that needs Biden Jill's attention, and with the amount that's happening in the land bank, it should be a good fit to keep all these boats flowing. So that is the final resolution in the list. That is, does anybody have any questions there?
Going to, all right, if there aren't any questions, we're going to move to resolution 26-01, appointing a temporary secretary. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second,
Second.
discuss. Joe?
This resolution is to appoint Amanda Forney as secretary until Caitlin Ryan comes back.
All right. No questions, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, next, 26-02, who appoint Bowers and Company, CPA, LLC as our accountant.
Motion.
Second,
Second.
discussion? No discussion, just continuing on what we've been doing, we've been having.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Opposed? Passes. All right. Resolution 26-03, accept LBI Capital Funding Award. Motion?
Motion.
Second.
All right. There's no discussion. Joe Servants explained that up front. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. All right. 26-04, accept LBI Phase 2 Extension Award. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
There's no further discussion.
I would like to highlight two things quick. So our acquisition money for new properties is in this pot. So if we remember a while back, we offered a purchase offer to the town of Lodi for 2 vacant lots in the village. And we expect now that we have this money back in the hopper. We spent all the money last time while we waited for them to work out their legal issues and the judgment on the property. We needed to spend the grant. But now, since we're getting money back in the account, we're able to pursue that. So whenever they're ready, we'll be ready. And the other opportunity that's floating out there is 19 Locust Street. So the acquisition costs of doing that, whether it goes back to auction or however, the treasurer and county attorney want to handle that. We're in a position to pursue that property, which is a 3 or 4 unit existing non-demo candidate, but in rough shape, right in the heart of the village. And I think it's a lot of boxes that we're trying to work on. But that's not for today. I just wanted to make sure I said that today.
I was gonna ask you about the status of that.
All right.
We'll talk about it later.
All right, so with no further discussion, all those in favor?
All right.
Aye. Opposed? Do you need to read the questions now?
I do need to read the questions now.
All right.
Bear with me. So there's a secondary packet that you should all have, but I wanted to make sure at least this much is printed out. I sent a link in the email with basically every kind of environmental document you could imagine that we worked through to provide HCR and their review process. And this packet is just a short form EAF that any applicant would submit to like the planning board when they're doing their review. And I printed out the site plan with the grading plan and those types of things, so you have them in your hands. I think the board has seen these before. It's the same packet that we've essentially been using since last fall. We'll work through these. So impact on, and again, sorry, working through these questions, again, if you're on the planning board previously, this process will be familiar. Planning boards should be doing this when they encounter an application that's a type 1 or unlisted, which is generally every type of planning board application. So with that said, most of these are going to be no, and if you disagree, please speak up and we can discuss. Part of what we need to do is make sure the board is aware that these issues need to be looked at and do their due diligence to ensure that they have it. So if I say anything and you're like, wait a minute, let me make sure you want to double check, please do it. So number 1, impact on land. Proposed action may involve the construction on or physical alteration of the land surface of the proposal site. Yes, we're building something. So then after that, no or small impact may occur. And the other option is moderate to large impact may occur. They're all no's down the path. So basically, we're digging foundations for the 2 buildings on the site. And that's the impact. There's no slopes greater than 15%, so no or small impact. The water table is way deeper than 3 feet. Bedrock is not exposed. We're not going to remove more than 1,000 tons of material. The proposed action may involve construction that continues for more than 1 year or in multiple phases. That is a no. The proposed action may result in increased erosion, whether from physical disturbance or vegetation removal. That is a no. And the proposed action is or may be located in a coastal eroding hazard area. That is a no. So those are all no or small impacts. Impact on geological features. The proposed action may result in the modification or destruction of or inhibit access to any unique or unusual landforms on the site. Example, cliffs, dunes, minerals, fossils, and caves. No. Impacts on surface water. The proposed action may affect one or more wetlands or other surface water bodies. Example, streams, rivers, ponds, and lakes. No. Impact on groundwater. The proposed action may result in new or additional use of groundwater or may have the potential to introduce contaminants to groundwater or the aquifer. No. Impact on flooding. The proposed action may result in development on land subject to flooding. No. Impacts on air. The proposed action may include a state-regulated air emission source. No. Impacts on plants and animals. Yes. So 2 issues were identified during the HCR environmental review. There are 2 types across both sites of endangered species. We've got the short-eared owl, which we consulted with the DEC, and we don't have to do anything to worry about the short-eared owl, which is nice. The long-eared bat is the species of concern for the tree clearing. We've got a letter from HCR stating that we need to clear the trees before March 31st. We sent the whole back saying that we would. And we also went through the trouble of getting a habitat assessment from a certified biologist, because HCR indicated, and the normal process is, if you do that and they don't find the habitat, you don't need to worry about the conditions. We did that, they didn't find the habitat, and HCR said, no, you still got to worry about conditions. So that's why we have to do this in this way. So that was one of the more head scratching things from this entire process. So yes, we have checked no or small impacts down the line for species of concern, because we've addressed the two issues. So moving on. Impact on agricultural resources, no. Impact on aesthetic resources. The land use of the proposed action are obviously different from, or are in sharp contrast to, current land use patterns between the proposed project and a scenic or aesthetic resource. Like a mountain view, or a lake, or the Three Bears could be considered part of this. We put no on this. It's not blocking the view of any aesthetic resource for the area. Impact on historic or archaeological resources. The proposed action may occur on or in adjacent to a historic or archaeological resource. No. Impact on open space and recreation. The proposed action may result in a loss of recreational opportunities or a reduction in the open space resource as designated in any adopted municipal open space plan. No. Impact on critical environmental areas. The proposed action may be located within or adjacent to a critical environmental area. This is no. Impact on transportation. The proposed action may result in a change to existing transportation system. No. The proposed action may result in an increase in the use of any form of energy. This is a yes, because we're putting in 4 units where there's previously 1. There's going to be a slight increase in energy, but down the way, we're not going to need to upgrade a substation, so no impact. We're not supplying more than 50 single or 2-family residences, so no impact. We're not going to use more than 2,500 megawatt hours per year of electricity. And the proposed action may involve heating or cooling of more than 100,000 square feet. No. So here we are. Impact on noise, odor, and light. There is a potential impact of putting in lights on the. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, but nothing's marked. You're saying no or yes?
Well, I think we're marking them as
We're trying to mark them as we go.
as we have the discussion, then we're gonna mark
I
it,
know, just a short form like you can do sometimes.
yeah.
No, because it's an unlisted, we got to do this piece.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, you're fine. And if you disagree with anything I said, and I know you will, let me know. So impact on noise, odor, and light, we need to put up HCR rules. We have to have some sort of light in the parking lot common areas. We have gone through with HCR in their environmental review and their design review to ensure that the light isn't spilling onto other properties and it's within character of the neighborhood. So with that, we can say that no or small impact may occur down the line with noise or light. Impact on human health, put no. The compliance letter from HCR for the environmental review. At the end of construction, we need to do the interior air quality test. And if they find an impact from the previous fuel oil tanks in the basement, we need to install a salt-slab prepressurization system, which basically is an extra piece to the required radon system that's already going to be in there. So any of the impact on human health issues have been addressed in that way. And that's what's that?
Was there a leak?
By the time we get to them, these tanks, they're tipped over, they're half full or half empty, they're full of rainwater, the basement is flooded. So, they spilled, they leaked, they rusted out, who knows? And that's what the environmental said, that we might need that. So here we go.
Was the basement a dirt floor or a cement floor?
Dirt on this one, yes.
Dirt truck.
No way around.
We'll
Did
see.
we remove the soil?
Yes.
Well, you did remove it?
Oh, yeah. When we did and when I had so when we do a demolition, we're supposed to get a stack of all the receipts, everything that they did. And then when you go to build something, you give that stack to HCR and they work through it. And they look at every little page. And they say, what happened to the tank? What happened to the fuel oil? What happened to this?
Who done it?
Where'd it go? And then you got to try to document what Sessler or whoever else that you hired did with the half gallon of fuel oil that they drain out of the tank or something like that, and identify a paper trail for it. And we did that. So that's how we've gotten to this point of saying, if there is this impact, you got to buy this extra piece that goes on the system that's already designed, the continuous airflow or something like that. But and it's budgeted for, so if we have to do it, it's not going to be a big deal. But we might have to do it, we might not.
Was it considered a spill in the eyes of the DEC?
So this is HCR's environmental unit. The DEC has their spill records.
Like 5 gallons?
Yes, and there were there's still spills all around. It's everywhere. And there's spills all around. These impacts were identified more through observed conditions during the phase 1 environmental site assessment. So the environmental professional went in the basement and saw that it was flooded and there was a fuel oil tank down there and it smelled. And then we went back and we did a phase 2 and took probes of soil and then they tested those and they found it. Then we did demolition and they removed a great deal of it. So whether or not it affects indoor air quality or not, we got to test it. And if it does, we're ready. And if it doesn't, we're good to go. And that whole thing was not addressed by any of the A, B, C, D, or E, F impacts on human health. So I checked no, but we've got that covered. Now we're on the home stretch. Consistency with community plans. The proposed action is not consistent with adopted land use plans. No, there is no adopted land use plan. Consistency with community character. Thinking no on this, the proposed project is inconsistent with the existing community character. One of the options here is the proposed action may displace affordable or low-income housing in an area where there is a shortage of such housing. We're definitely not doing that. We're making it. And The proposed action is inconsistent with the predominant architectural scale and character. We specifically designed both buildings in the proposal to kind of match the neighborhood. So the townhouse, as we call it, structure at the front is 2 stories, so it will match the general neighborhood. But there's plenty of one-level dwellings throughout Ovid. So the ranch height house in the back for the other 2 units isn't going to be with the other ones.
Doesn't fit in with what's over here.
Exactly. So I wanted to highlight this because we didn't have to ask a planning board or a code officer or anyone permission to build this. So that's also why we need to do this now. So when bulldozers show up in March, I don't know what's gonna happen, because we don't have to ask anybody's permission. And that's because there's no zoning building. It's a blessing and a curse. I just wanted to put that out there, is that, yeah, we're thinking about community character. We designed it with the intention to match community character, but it is being constructed. And because of the local conditions there, with no zoning, we didn't have to ask everybody's permission, so here we are.
So you have to go by the building codes.
Yes, we do have to do that.
Would it behoove that we announce a public hearing and do that one evening? Tell everybody in the village what we're doing, and there you answer that question for everybody.
Are you on the village, are you a village trustee?
Yeah.
You can do that at a meeting, but there's no,
Well, I mean, we'll get the ad out and make sure, it's in the announcement and all that, the next meeting or something. That'll be, what, 3 weeks, something like that.
yeah, we could do that. I think making it clear that like the village doesn't have a,
Yeah, it's just letting everybody know what's
Informational.
happening.
Right.
Yeah.
Informational.
there's no decision that the village could make that would slow or stop.
Just let them know what's coming down the road.
And then they'll all come get mad at you and not us. Yeah.
There's no laws out
I think it's gonna be pretty welcomed.
there. I think it will be, yeah. I don't see anybody jumping up and on it. Except for one lady next door that said we were too close to retreat or something like that. I don't know what it was.
From our experience in Waterloo with the other set of projects, who knows? You never know.
But I think if we, make it public and everybody knows what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I think it's a question of when do we want to find these things out?
Yeah.
So,
You gotta have 30 days advance notice or something, whatever. Okay.
we don't have anything.
We got a couple of weeks.
Because of, when you have zoning, you have those requirements. When there's no zoning, there's no requirements for anything. Okay. Everybody happy enough with the thoroughness of our,
All right, and we will pick up with resolution 2605, declaring intent to act as lead agency classifying the Seneca Housing Inc. project at 2125 West Seneca Street in Ovid to be an unlisted action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, issuing a negative declaration for the project.
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, we will go to 26-06, authorizing distribution of the LBI grant fund to Seneca Housing Inc. to fund the construction of 2125 West Seneca and 1473 Pleasant Street. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Second? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. All right. Resolution 26-07, authorizing property transfer of 17 West Walnut Street and 55 Washington Street to Black Rock. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Carries. All right. 26-08, authorizing the commitment of Wells Fargo donation to Black Rock Regions at 55 Washington Street. Do I have a motion? And a second?
Sorry.
All in favor? Opposed? Carries. All right, and is there, is there a resolution? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, and so resolution 26-09, authorizing a contract with Red Clover Consulting LLC.
Motion.
Second,
Second.
How much is that for?
It is a flat monthly fee for $6,000 a month, which ends up being cheaper than what we had originally not adopted in the budget, but we're penciling in for hiring somebody this year. Significantly. So yeah, we had in our application budget to HCR for the 2 million, within that 2 million, about 90,000 for hiring a director of operations. This works out to 75,000, so it's a significant savings and gets us where we need to be in terms of support and capacity, personnel.
get this moving quick.
So this is allowed under our 2 million that you
Yeah.
actually use?
Yes.
Yeah, and it keeps us out of having to jump into the world of payroll and other
Right.
things.
Insurance.
So,
You know,
Will that be something we have to maintain sort of outways?
What's the question?
Is this a position that we're gonna maintain for several years?
This has a year, like all the professional contracts, you're gonna review it in a year.
Yeah. So I mean, it's tentatively a long-term consulting contract.
I mean, could be, I think, we're, with Seneca Housing, doing what they're doing and partnering with us, in owning and operating these things. And the recent success we've had in getting HCR money, I think there is still potential down the road that we might want to hire directly somebody.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, is that filling in until you get to a full-time employee.
I think so. I think that'd be a good way to think about it. It's
It's
a,
a expedient solution now with the goal that we're providing.
yes. And whether this person ends up being that person, who knows? But I think to get to that point and do all of this with the other things that are happening in the planning department, we need somebody as quickly as we can. And when Tracy's, when the opportunity with Tracy came up, it was really a no-brainer for me. It was like, if Tracy wants to do this, like we trust Tracy, we know Tracy, we've worked with her for a long time. She's highly in demand. We got to her first, which is nice. So, yeah, I think down the road, things keep going well and we expand and get into a higher level of quality of project, which we're getting into now. Hiring somebody full-time or full staff, or it could look different in the future, but I think we've reached the point of the current arrangement. It's showing its strength, for sure.
Well, down here it says February 1st, 26 through December 31st, 26. So that's a year then.
That's a year.
Okay, then it stops.
Yep, then we'll see where we're at and we'll come back to you.
We got to propose it again.
Yeah.
That's why I was saying, in the meantime, are you gonna be working at filling in as a permanent position?
Not directly, I don't envision doing that. What Tracy's gonna be doing is figuring out, the first thing she's gonna be doing is figuring out the lawn mower. And then after that, helping to process the draw requests and the paperwork that it's gonna take to, administer the money going to Seneca Housing for the LDI program, from the LDI program, that's a call over. And then we gotta figure out, next steps at 4 Seneca Lane, which is on the docket. We have some capital money beyond what we're contributing to Seneca Housing to do that with. And then, should we acquire 19 William Street, same thing. So, working with Tracy to put those projects together, whether we work with Seneca Housing or not, we'll develop hopefully a income stream, whether it's called or fee or whatever it is, to get those projects done and then figure out with our resources where we're at. Is it time to hire somebody? Is it time to do something different?
Yeah.
Kind of like what we're doing right now.
Well, that's what I'm saying, because if she makes herself indispensable, you can't hire her as a consultant, and you would have that laid out to where you can transition her from a consultant to an employee.
I mean, it could be. I don't want to hire Tracy as an executive director right now, based on the assumption that she'd like to do that. But I think she has the opportunity here.
Well, no, you got a year there to.
Yeah, she's got a year here to, if that's the direction she wants to go, and these projects come together in a way that it would fund that, I don't see why we wouldn't do that if that's what she wants to do. But if she doesn't want to be an eventual CEO for Land Bank or something like that, and she's bringing these projects together, she will help us figure out who to hire or how to do that. So.
Okay.
There's no other questions. We've had a first and a second, so all those in favor, say aye. Opposed? Carried. All right, moving to number 5, which is the attorney's update.
I would just say, Joe just mentioned 4 Seneca Lane, that finally closed, but I did not give you that in the last 6 meetings, so that finally closed, which is great. And, other than that, I'm going to be working on the street, and have these demands to take care of the new projects.
No other questions for Esther, which is the actual treasury.
So we're looking at the first page of your financial report, which is the balance sheet comparison as of December 31st, 2025. The general checking account is down approximately $41,000 from our last report was October 31st, and we'll touch on that use of funds as we go through the report here and there as it appears. Right away, the checking account of ESL appears with $5,700, and it wasn't here in October, so there's money there that wasn't categorized in that account in the previous report. There are some things such as prepaid insurance goes up $1,000. I know that's immaterial, but it's all part of the $41,000. There's money in that. There are some items here, and I apologize, but I didn't really touch on this. Joe might want to comment. There's been some significant changes in real estate valuation here. With West Seneca Street being up to $60,000. That's line item 14028. 108 Minders appears for the first time. That's 14032. Line item 14032. That's a new 114,900. There is an offset that I found that I'll mention as we go through the report. Joe, if you need to step up with anything, just go ahead and interrupt. Pleasant Street, 1473 Pleasant Street, which is line item 14033, is up $62,000. Increases in Washington Street, 10,000, and increase in Central Lane of $2,000. Those are those asset values. So there is a catalyst, obviously, that increases those. Moving on, your accounts payable. On the second page, very top item, line item 20000, that's actually down $12,000 from last report, so there is another use of funds, so that's some of your money. Obviously, there's other payables, that's a moving target, you're just seeing a picture. At this point in time, it's down $12,000, but that doesn't necessarily say that we didn't pay others. The following page, and I apologize for the print size, but this is really your month-to-month, and some of my comments from page 1 and page 2 are in line with the October column here. I know that you see the previous year column on page 1 and page 2. I tend to work off of from the last time we met. So those changes that I discussed were from your previous meeting where you discussed the third column from the right. Moving on to the budget versus actuals, and some of these comments, I'm going to do this just because it all falls here, but it does also pertain to the profit and loss comparison, so I'll try to be clear about when I'm commenting on one report or on the other. As I mentioned, there were some increases in valuation in your real estate. If you look at line 43000, so that's about 6 lines down, you have a $162,900 donated property value, which is income, which makes up for a lot of what I commented on in your valuation of your real estate on the first page. As I mentioned, I'm going to go from one to the other. That's a income item, but also when we talk about it in the context of this report, you had no idea going into the budgeting process that this amount is going to appear at this point in time in the year, so you don't have a budgeted item for that. So that's fresh and new to the report. Moving down under cost of goods sold, looking at line 50070, it's lawn maintenance, which is just the cost of doing business. That is up $4,000 again, going back to the very original comment of $41,000 used. This is $4,000 increase since October of 25, well in line, if anything under budget by about $6,000. So nice job there, $6,700, but fair budgeting. And then down below that line, at the very bottom of this cost of goods sold section, you have two items that were not within your budget. One was property appraisals, that's line 50207, and the other one was environmental services. I think we discussed that earlier. Joe, I'm assuming that's your tanks, your phase 2, phase 1, and your phase 2, and maybe some other things. But 50207 and 50208, you have a $2,200 appraisal, and then you have environmental services of $14,225. Not planned, I'm not saying that some of those are as needed, but not budgeted. So definitely it's something that adds to the cost of your items, but it wasn't planned, but it's just the nature of real estate. One thing I do want to point out, Joe, and I'm sorry to say this in a meeting and not have a previous discussion with you, but your legal and professional services went down. And I don't really understand why. I didn't know if there was a movement of funds that went from somewhere. We can discuss that later. Insurance, again, you're spending money month to month. This is up $1,000 over your budgeted amount, but go back to your donated properties and things such as that. You really didn't expect some of these properties to be here at the time of budgeting, so I would expect something like insurance to be a greater cost than anticipated because you weren't budgeting for these properties that are now in your hands. So I apologize for bouncing back and forth, but that also cleared up basically your next page altogether because that is your profit and loss. And then here's your profit and loss by class, where the first column is really basically the operations of the land bank itself, and then you go through each different phase of LPI and how those funds are being utilized. All seems to be in line. Any questions?
I'll say, we're also preparing for an audit right now, going on right now. So the donated property value, we've owned Minor Street before. Last time we owned Minor Street, there was a house on it. And this time, there is a habitat tore down in the middle. Then they dissolved, when they dissolved, they donated the property back. So, I was working with the today on it, but the previous appraised value that we had on our books for it transferred back into it. I think this reflects that, so, I would expect on the next month's report, the valuation of the donated property will different.
Writing down to a lot, basically.
Yeah. But we also got the donated property from, the Presbyterian Church, so, well, and that has a house on it, so I'm not sure what, I think that number is gonna look different, I'm not exactly sure what that number will be. And I'm very happy with the accountants in general, because they keep these books, this is well beyond my comprehension. As I've made clear numerous times, all of these reports and how they boil together. But when I had my meeting with HCR to close out the grants, they were $2 million. They didn't have any questions about the spreadsheets and budgets and reports that I shared, which was incredible. So with the audit coming up, I expect a lot of these things are going to change, and if there's something's in the wrong pot, it'll get reclassified and put where it's supposed to be. I will say, we took a draw from our line of credit with ESL for $117,000, and paid $112,000 of it that's to be reimbursed at the construction closing. So we need the construction closing to move forward so we get that money back, pay that line of credit. Because you can't spend any money HCR gives you on the project prior to that closing. So you have to close that in the middle, which is why we needed that loan. We got the loan, we're floating it now. We'll have interest. But then when it closes, I think either at that closing or very soon after, we'll get a check, we'll cash it, pay off the line of credit, and get on with the day.
I think you have to take, well, as far as the Minor Street property, I'm sure Habitat was carrying it for that value, as far as like demolition costs and everything, that probably reflects their books, is my guess. No?
I don't know. I have no idea what happened.
Well, right.
I don't know.
Right, yeah, I think that's the example of what I believe that's what that appears to me, is that they were probably, they probably spent a fair amount of money removing it.
I have no idea. I don't think I want to comment during the meeting on Habitat's books.
How many,
$2 million. Do we have to keep that in a special account so we can count for where the money went?
well, I don't know if they,
Is that something you do
I don't
or
know,
no?
no, I don't know if they require that, but I would assume that there's gonna want a
Kind of.
accounting. I mean, I don't know if they would require a general ledger account, basically, I guess would be the best.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking you. I didn't know if you had to
I mean,
keep it
I tend
separate.
to like to keep things, I mean, I've
Right.
rattle off 30 accounts if that's what you need. It's easier accounting if you do
Right.
that. But I believe the record of keeping it, I believe, told me to find out differently, but I believe you just keep a good record of what you did was probably okay, but
You can do either.
yeah.
We do have a separate account for it, and if we don't, we will. But what happens is they don't send you the $2 million
Right,
all
yeah,
at once. They spend it first,
right.
and then they reimburse you. So we have an account set up where that reimbursement goes into, they deposit it, and then we transfer whatever reimbursement back to an account it came from. So if we pay for something out of the general account, you'll see, so like we have a $5,000 phase two. General account will drop $5,000. And then we'll get a disbursement 4 months later, back up 5,000. And by the time that disbursement happens, it could be $50,000, $100,000, $200,000 at that point that we spent and then getting paid for.
Okay. I was just asking what would be the easiest way to keep track of where it's coming and going and.
You hire an accountant.
You hire these guys, yeah.
Prefer separate accounts.
Yeah,
When able.
right,
When able.
would make most sense.
Well, thank you.
Hold on.
We vote on that report?
Oh,
Okay. All right, then we are going to make a motion to approve the CFO treasurer's update. Do we have a motion?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, carried. Thank you. And so number 7, is there new business?
only that there's a housing strategy presentation at 4, and every land-based board member and volunteer person should have a hard copy at their station. And for those of you that are members of the board of supervisors, you're getting your copy now. Everybody else has their copy on their desk.
All right, thank you. And if there's nothing else, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all right. Here we go. All approved. All right, terrific. Thank you, everyone. And we did good. We have 1 minute until the presentation.